Bravely Default is one of the best RPGs the 3DS has to offer. A metempsychosis of Final Fantasy V, Bravely Default puts its job system in context of a combat system all about braving to take extra actions and defaulting so you can brave. Not to mention the often sharp dialogue and fantastic soundtrack, but this is a challenge run first and foremost. If you've been on the non-slop side of JRPG YouTube lately, you've probably seen Backlog Buster's Final Fantasy V Single Job Challenge series recently. Or you've seen Zafrost's various Final Fantasy Challenge Run videos. All good videos, by the way. So basically, I wanted to do a video like that, but for the Final Fantasy-esque Bravely Default. I decided on Salvemaker of all jobs since I never used it seriously, and you know, consumable item heavy runs stand out. Here's a list of the clarified rules because single job runs can never be so simple. As usual, there will be spoilers for the whole game. No dramatic warning this time, guys and gals and non-binary pals. The game starts with a pre-rendered cutscene showing the party starting their journeys. Anya's journey starts when her crystal goes bad. Ringabel journeys to get off. Adia fights to legalize the crystal, and Tiz becomes homeless due to crystal. Upon Tiz waking up, I fiddled with graphics settings during recording, gave up, changed Tiz to Salvemaker, and went to Nerende Ravine. Dungeons in Bravely Default are short, simple, and I can freely decide how much the encounter rate resembles the experience of being openly queer, so I'll yap about Salvemaker in the meantime. While carrying average stats and abilities that are about as informative as a Red Nova Tyrant video, Salvemaker boasts some of the best damage, healing, and utility options in the game. From granting elemental weaknesses, dealing good elemental damage, and doubling your health, Compound has some strong effects to offer, mostly these effects. As for flaws, Salvemaker can't really apply ailments, requires experimenting just to know what experiment and collect gives, you can only carry 99 of each item, and most of the cool compounds like Double HP and Shadow Flare cost the expensive Dragon Fang. At the end of Nerende Ravine, boy meets girl over one of many assholes smaller than me. The Empire thinks the ravine holds a weed farm, so they bomb it, and we gotta escape.
And I'm Barry. It's a pleasure.
You know, vile creatures like you are why I subscribe to the idea that problem of evil is a valid argument against God. Because if he were supposedly all good, you would be fucking smote already. Successfully fleeing back to Kaldisla, Tiz is given a solid amount of the reason why this is a New Game Plus run. I'm not doing Nerende Reconstruction again. Then convinces Agnes to let him tag along. Nearby on the world map is where the first bosses can be found. Domino's the White Mage and Subway the Monk, here to serve you the shittiest food known to United Statesers. This fight is meant to be done before Jobs muck things up with her complexity, so not much to say. Will on Holly because she heals, then Bear. Use potions or first aid occasionally. While the clip plays, I want to let y'all know that I know the remaster is a thing. Even if I weren't boycotting Square Enix for their forays into AI and NFTs, I just don't plan on getting a Switch 2. Like $80 for Mario Kart? Are you fucking mad? Never mind that the console is going to be way more than its $450 USD price point just because of the fact that price gougers are a thing and, well, they have bots to buy up all the products, so it's hard to actually get any of it without bundles. Honestly, just emulate the 3DS version these days. The Steam Deck can do it, many phones can do it, and you get a better experience than playing it on 3DS, to be quite honest. And hey, if you transfer over demo data for a free 20 workers for Nerende, or just decide save editing is a necessary evil, Nerende isn't too much of a problem either. All this to say the Raidou 1 remake is looking so much better. I swear Atlas is not abusing me whatsoever. Let's wait to see how the Persona 4 remake turns out. Before winning, we unlock jobs we can't use, as will be the case for many of these bosses, and it's back to town again. On returning, we nap, and the female fanbase of Bravely is saddened, for Ringabel's house was set ablaze. Then, like Ringabel into our party, they come. Ringabel himself has two defining character traits, his heterosexuality and being fast. The less we talk about pre-localization changes, the better. Yes, I'm aware this conflicts with my usual staunch moralizing, but see how well that keeps you friends. And it's off to Centro Keep. Don't bother with Centris at all, or at least until you hit job level 3 when you get the first game changer and experiment. Use it on antidotes and you got a cheap source of weak damage items at this stage, plus you can sell them for a profit and buy more antidotes. Until you get Collect at level 12, this is the best option for money. I may or may not have reset the playthrough around this point, so ignore discrepancies in footage so far, but Ominous Crow, unrelated to Velvet or Tea Tree, is the next boss. Adia's in our party for this, but she's a freelancer, so I knock her out ASAP so her freelancer job gets no experience. This is the only instance of a non-Salvemaker job being involved in an XP giving fight, thankfully. Otherwise, apply weakness and use 4 weak attack items. Murgurgur joins the party and lags behind an XP like I'm producing a Bravely default with only Salvemakers video. Adia has a bias towards physical stats and is the slowest party member. You'll never guess how often she doesn't survive the end of boss fights. She's also a staunch moralizer, like me for real for real. Returning to town, Tales of Eternia strikes again. We get sad over an NPC. Agnes accuses Adia of being sus before having to accept her help, and it's off to Lontano Manor to prove Abyss is the best Tales game. Yeah, the Rebirth translation didn't really change that fact. It's third best, but Abyss and Berseria just have better writing across the board. Plus, I never talked to the Abyss and Berseria translators. Never meet your heroes. Outside, we unlock special attacks. The only one that matters in this run is Rejuvenation for the BP generation. Sadly, Withering Ripple can't be charged, so no ailments. Loot the place and realize even weak attack items are so good at this stage I can subsist off bosses for now. Even realized I could have beaten Heinkel in one turn. I'll settle for 2 for now given random turn order, and I'm still getting used to this. After beating up Heinkel harder than Tales of Rebirth beat up Eric Landon, we get an airship and it's off to Adsheim, a city known for its massive clock and nothing worth buying. Going further into the city, a king announces he's implementing the work culture he read about Japan having, calls Agnes a lazy communist who doesn't know the value of hard work, then we just decide to go to the Wind Tower. Well, the story says we should, however this is where side quests unlock. For the sake of content, I will be doing them. Starting off, the game decides to get political as we have a meeting with a literal capitalist rat bastard. After listening to Profiteur, Tiz gets almost as thirsty as Ringabel and we are directed to an oasis because we're socialists who believe free clean water is a right or something. At the oasis, the place is accosted by thieves and we head to their lair to beat them up. Helena Ruins has a thief knife and gloves to enable stealing much later. Also the first side quest bosses, Jackal and Ligma. They're a mild threat normally. Right now though, we're still in one-turn territory. Were we not in such territory, Jackal wastes his turn stealing potions. Kent is a bit more complex on the other hand. He can increase his damage or apply an ailment to his attacks and he will brave. After beating the Blowjob brothers, we learn there's a conspiracy where Profiteur hired Jackal to essentially enforce a monopoly on water. Profiteur is normally considered to be a hard boss due to being able to deal solid fixed damage for this stage of the game. Unfortunately for him, we also have solid fixed damage. Kent is also here. Returning to the main story, it turns out we can't do anything at the Wind Temple as Agnes' Vestal garb has worn out. At Sage Juliana's hut, least misogynist Witcher 3 fan tells us to get rainbow thread so he can repair the dress.
Stop talking. Just stop.
Guarding the rainbow thread is a dragon. I couldn't even tell you how this fight goes normally. I know the speedrun is just black mage sweep and a casual would also have spell fencer and more levels to boot, so all this to say it was a one turn. With the garb repaired, we can fight Orthrus to purify the wind crystal. Trivial fight with a noteworthy find in that elemental bane compounds disable resistances and immunities as demonstrated with Bluehead. Well, mostly. The Belphegor nemesis is the only exception, mainly so you stick to his weakness shifting gimmick. Not that we'll be doing that here. On winning, we have to mash X to make the crystal woke. Can't really fail this. And I would know, but that's foreshadowing, kiddos. Wrapping things up in Anchime on yes, gaslights, gatekeeps, and girl bosses all over Kamer, and we can finish this region's side quest chain. At night, loot the mill and overhear Kamer reveal he's been conspiring with Nestle to piss off the proletariat and convert them to a more capitalist religion. In a normal run, Kamer is, well, mostly annoying if you rely on physical, and Stop exists. Stop can be annoying and there's no permanent solution this run can access, but it wears off quickly. Ligma is also here, mainly to die of balls. Thus wrapping up Chapter 1. Starting Chapter 2, the dim night castrates our airship, so we have to cross Miyazaki's contribution to the game. After no mandatory fights and some looting, we reach the lesbian separatist colony, Florum. We meet with the matriarch of the place to give us a thinly veiled rant about the cosmetics industry, and we're directed to the water temple. Of course, we can't just fight the crystal boss now. We have to find the caster so she can turn off some barrier. Unfortunately for us, she's in hiding, so we sign up Agnes for some beauty pageant to get the caster's attention. In my original playthrough, this was around where I'd say I got hooked. Maybe it's the commentary on sex culture that appealed to my teenage brain, maybe it's the music. I'm also fond of the job progression in this. Regardless, Bravely Default cemented itself for me as a certified grade at this point. One memory I have was being around this part playing this game during a late night car ride to a Kingdom Hearts concert. I'd have only played one Kingdom Hearts game at that point given I only owned a 3DS, but its soundtrack is the kind of thing I could argue legitimizes video game music to my mom. I think this was either a reward for graduating or a birthday gift. That's it really to this memory. I'm not even really a Kingdom Hearts fan. I'm more likely to just derail to the topic to the World Ends review these days. As part of preparing Agnes for the contest, we look into the local trends, leading to many side quests. The first side quest I do is in Florum Garden due to a lead about two children going there to get hairpins. Near the garden, the kids get attacked by an enemy group I may have grinded to fight, and it's off to the dungeon. At the end of the gardens, we encounter some Ares who promptly get blown up by our next boss, Summoner Mephilia. The party learns that Ares are being poached for their wings to make hairpins with, and that the wings secrete what I can best describe as crack juice. High chance Mephilia is on it too. In theory, Mephilia should be a difficult fight due to having a strong AoE option, but her addled AI and low health will make this rather easy, trivial even. The next side quest has us investigating the trendy hair dye everyone in Florum is using.
These creatures are revered as Florum's guardians, and now the forest stands at the edge of death. Who would do this?
I think it was Sephiroth. The dye is made by poaching the Orochi sacred of Florum. It's also hallucinogenic. That's no good. To save the snakes and the people of Florum, we must fight Jasonifex's girlfriend. Our teammate's got great single and random target damage and certainly more health than Mephilia, so it takes a little longer, but we eventually piece out this wolf. Now how to pad out this segment. How about another Arthur tract? What's a YouTube channel for if not a soapbox? One of the greatest punchlines to my life lately was reuniting with one of the few GameFAQs users I didn't hate over on Fur Affinity, only to slowly realize they're a Feral fan. Shit had me feeling like Artemia at the end of this clip. Continuing the main story, since the Lech may be able to help, we 2-round some turtle to set a precedent for me glazing over bosses. Shortly after, Agnes realizes societal beauty standards for women are bullshit, wearing her normal clothes at the festival instead. This works, not for the festival, who cares about that, but to direct us to the next plot location, and hey, more side quests open up. The Valkyrie side quest has us investigate a note some lady dropped about fleeing from a blood rose attack. After a brief dungeon, the note was bait and we fight a veritable death goddess, Einherja. This is the first boss of the run where I have to think, because Crescent Moon will wipe me if I don't default, and it takes more than a full volley of basic attack items to win. Maybe I'll go for the stronger attack items next time. Einherja is one of my choices for favorite asterisk, to be honest. In gameplay, she's usually a great indicator that the kid gloves just start coming off with her ways to not take damage and just wipe you. In story, she's a morally conflicted and traumatized figure, having to reconcile being one of Adia's role models with being one who took a major part in the genocides of the Crystalists and Florum, all while having to rein in the next asterisk boss and while her sisters are dealing with drug abuse. Her design is also pretty cool, even if I think her designer is a hack based on the shit he wrote in Fire Force, and Cindy Robinson was both a great casting choice and a deliverer of a great performance in the English dub. This game does have dual audio in the 3DS version for what it's worth. The Red Mage side quest starts with old red guy virtue signaling about how he's not a nonce, or worse yet, gay. As a result, Ringabel thinks about sex. Adia tries to discover what De Rosa is up to, and eventually we find De Rosa's lair. Wow, I know Neil Gaiman was a big writer, but man, his cameo here as the Red Mage is strangely prophetic. Can't wait for his appearance in the next Thunderbolts run. De Rosa is a rather threatening boss. He can randomly gain BP from getting hit, will spam AoE magic to wipe you, and can inflict charm on anyone just to burn your turns. At this point, spamming basic attack items isn't enough. You really want the stronger attack items, either from experimenting on more valuable items or combining two of the same elemental item you might have used for applying an elemental weakness. It also helps to equip the auto potion passive to soften the Thundara spam. Once the nightmare is slain, Ringabel realizes women are people too, and it's back to the main story. Hopefully De Rosa won't return. After one of the few dungeons with anything resembling a puzzle, there's a fight against Victor and Victoria. You're meant to lose it with what jobs and gear you can access right now. No reward for winning either. Salvemaker can absolutely deal the necessary 108k per target in 5 turns through strong attack item compounds and element boosting equipment, but I didn't realize it at the time. Good to know poison immunity from Tabby Suit trivializes this fight at least. While we survived Victoria, unfortunately Olivia didn't. This does dispel the barrier surrounding the crystal, but oof, poor Agnes.
You're the only one. My only friend. Don't leave me. Please, don't leave. I need you. Olivia. Olivia.
After mustering back up some resolve, we head back to the water temple for the last boss of chapter 2, Rusalka. If you don't want to grind, you'll want to start using strong attack items now. If Rusalka hits 4 turns, they will nuke your party with Seep. Thankfully, strong attack items are enough to give you the 1 turn. With the water crystal restored, the ocean is no longer as corrosive as the steam forms are when a new Western RPG drops, allowing me access to the rest of the seas. Starting Chapter 3, the party stops by Grand Ship only for another Ratman to direct us to the Heisenberg continent. The deal here is that there's a civil war going on, Eternia is involved, the Flame Vessel is dead, the Fire Crystal is loved in the crossfire, and Liam O'Brien is breaking typecast by not playing a queer-coded caricature. Since we're the four heroes of light with nothing else to do, the party helps out the shield bearers in the meantime. First dungeon we're directed to is Grap Keep, where we learn the Salvemaker asterisk is... well, damn, I didn't expect Israeli stereotypes in this game. After that scene, we beat up some robots I thought were glorified randoms because of how good AoE fix damage is at this stage. Then it's off to do the next side quest bosses. Pirate Barbie is just chilling in the ocean. He's sexist and worse yet, knows how to ethically consume under capitalism. This is unacceptable, so we kick his ass. Bob Ross's deal here is to debuff your stats and maybe hit you with a strong attack. Ignore Resurrect saving me from seeing that game over screen on multiple occasions. After a quest spanning this plastic world, the next boss is a blonde bimbo girl living in a fantasy world. This stereotypical Barbie's job is to buff her army of Kens. That's it. I think I lost whatever Aesop or central theme this video had. Or maybe there never was one. Okay, that's not true. The moral is Salvemaker is way better than Spirit Master, and I wrote this part because I just watched the recent Barbie movie during script writing. Great movie, by the way. Returning back to the story, the game tells me the kids don't in fact yearn for the mines, so I gotta beat up some filler encounters to save them. For saving our youth, I'm then directed to find Eggle at Starkfort. I thought he'd be at Mechonis, but okay. Ringabel's diary mentions one room having poison, which I assume means treasure and the Codifight. This certified Dubai welcomer is normally hard due to a mix of the regen buff and dark breath benefiting from boss health pools. Unfortunately for Kata, I too have little qualms about the deployment of chemical munitions, even if I do have to see the gruesome consequences. Thankfully, this is a silly anime game where nothing seriously bad happens ever, haha. From here on is practically intended Salvemaker gameplay. Gonna rush more plot points because dungeon crawling is only real in the original Japanese release. We save Eggle at Starkfort. Unfortunately, he reminds Tiz of his dead brother, leading to short-lived drama. Returning to the mines, Agnes saves crew. Wait, is that Crack from Kirby? Guarding the fire crystal is Chogmar, with a rather intimidating barrier granting them 9,999 in both defense stats and the ability to suck your BP. This cloud of darkness can seem like a hurdle. It's a good thing that attack items ignore stats and that the barrier doesn't remove Chogmar's electric weakness, otherwise this would be hard. Chogmar also always drops reflect rings, which will have some use later. With the fire crystal awakened, we clean up a loose end at Starkfort. Kami Izumi is the next asterisk boss and one of many to be the dance routine you expect of RPGs when you don't want to grind. He's not very hard for Salvemaker. He wastes his turns trying to counter attacks I'll never use, and maybe he'll brave a bunch when he catches on. Briefly diverting to the main story, we report to Daniel Goodman, no relation to Salt, then deal with the matter of Eggel's new home. Once that's done, we get to the best side quest where I'll just let Ringabel say it.
That said, the murderer must be among us.
The overused joke ends up being the ninja asterisk Kikyo. She hits hard and she hits first. She can also force evade physical attacks, but we aren't using physical. Would you believe me if I said Ninja was also one of the strongest classes in the game and in Bravely Second? With the imposter ejected and the matter of the Black Blades handled, we should do something about getting to the normally inaccessible Eternian continent. Grand Ship seems like a good enough place to check. The place is falling apart like my mental health, so we investigate its dungeon and aw fuck, it's a stat check boss. No way to sugarcoat it. Behemoth spams physical AoEs and no matter what, I'll still have to grind a little to not get one shot. At least it has a weakness in electric. Grinding to the mid-40s and getting to job level 11 seemed to reach the threshold where I can last with some luck. For winning, we get an airship. Said airship also doubles as a town, so I can heal and restock nearly anywhere on the world map. Well, off to chapter 4. At Eternia, Bravely learns we have arrived and starts getting desperate as we go through airship-unfriendly terrain. Before reaching the city, we fight a frost golem. A trivial fight, but one that requires water resistance to make doable. At the city of Eternia, the party marvels at Eternia's crystal-powered healthcare, and Adia is informed her mom was hospitalized. But before visiting Majur, I go by Assassin's Daggers thinking they will be useful for their instant death properties. They aren't really. Gaia Gear and Staff of Lives are worth it for passive 50% bonus to earth damage and free cure though. All items of on-use effects don't break, by the way. Unrelated to this run, but equipment that casts spells on use are affected by group cast all and epic group cast, but aren't affected by magic critical and don't charge rod specials. Talking to Adia's mom, we struggle with the dilemma of healthcare or saving the planet, and decide on the latter since healthcare is only benefiting the rich anyways. On the way to Eternia Castle are 2 optional overworld bosses, the zombie dragon who is oddly susceptible to death by Phoenix Downs, and a guardian who wrecks me if I'm not predicting when to correctly use first aid. Entering Eternia Castle, we are greeted by Victor, Victoria, and Vanya seeking vendetta. Coincidentally, the former 2 are the next boss. Bring Tabby suits and dark charms on everyone. Tabby suit removes Victoria's only AoE option, and dark charm mitigates the only threatening option of Victoria's. Victor isn't even worth considering given he doesn't have the stall skills that make his job normally considered broken, and his holy is weak right now. I still end the fight in throw random shit mode, resorting to regular attacks and turn toxic. Blame my recording habits for me not stocking up. Regarding any response to my jabs at Spirit Master, I absolutely get how good it is defensively. Stillness is broken, and I have abused it in casual play. I also think that Spirit Master doesn't hold on its own like Salvemaker or even Merchant. You kinda need a magic sub-job or go gambling with the Wonder Rod in order to really use its intelligence stat, and it's not a physical job whatsoever. A brief grind later, mainly to afford equipment, I reach job level 13. At 12 you get Collect. Here's a note of what the world map places drop from vague observation since I couldn't find shit about it on GameFAQs or Reddit. Generally, each area has a pool of 6 items. 1 weak healing item, 1 mid healing item or ailment remover, 1 strong healing item, 2 elemental compounds, and 1 non-dragon fang compound. Time of day also affects item pools, mainly with the weak and strong healing items. After that yap, the party goes to prison for possession, breaks out, and Yuliana tells us this important line to remember.
Have the courage to think and act on your own.
At the top of Eternian Central Command, we fight the Templar Brave Lee. His whole strategy is defaulting, then spamming BP intensive single target attacks. With Resurrect, this is usually easy enough to recover from. Gaia Gear boosted Earth Mallets bury any chance of Brave winning. Worth noting, Brave Lee has his health bar split into 3 phases, each one resetting debuffs you place on him. You know, with the AstroTurfing of Claire Obscure going on, I want to let y'all know I probably won't play it. I'm a fake Dragon Age fan, so it's not an issue with common cited points of hype like mature cast who act like adults or mature, deep storytelling. I just find my craving for novelty in new JRPGs to mostly be, does this have gay, or is this saying anything fresh? And Claire doesn't seem to be it. If you have to ask, yes, I hate video games. Bravely Default got lucky enough for me to play it when I was like 17. With Brave Lee having been defaulted, the final crystal is in reach. But first, another side quest. In order to enter Lord De Rosso's manor, we must fight 6 dragons across the world. Each is a powerful boss that can once per turn delete a party member, delete your party if you didn't bring elemental resistance, or apply elemental weakness. In a normal playthrough, one would normally cheese with Utsusumi or Rampart spam. Unfortunately, I don't have that luxury here. There are 2 ways I could go about this. I could try and fight the dragons legitimately, utilizing elemental immunity compounds liberally and hope they don't bite at bad times. Or I could buy 16 dragon fangs per dragon for the 3rd most powerful option Salvemaker has, Shadow Flare, deleting each dragon in 1 turn. The latter costs a lot, but I can passively make the 80k needed per dragon by selling the turbo ethers and other items I get from Collect. I tried both strategies to valid effect, eventually felling the 6. Jabberwock and Laydon are the hardest dragons in my opinion, seeing as they inflict rather obnoxious ailments with their breath attacks even when the damage is nullified. For beating off the bad dragons, we get to loot Vampire Castle, earning the party a copy of the very limited Hermes shoes and a bunch of lore regarding Crystalism's history. In summary, it used to be a lot worse until Yuliana defrauded the church. Maybe I was too harsh by assuming he was a Witcher fan. Perhaps Yuliana is worth liking, commenting, and subscribing to after all. Following that 40 minutes or so of quality yap from the game is a fight with a not vampire Lester De Rosso. This fight was a lot of luck and ends basically as soon as he drains BP, but I eventually managed to do a variant of the Shadow Flare spam strategy and delete that over 200k health bar in 3 turns. Winning gets most of the party to the maximum job level, learning the passive Feel No Pain. Weird how Dark Knight isn't the job that gets this, given it's like putting on the Berserker armor, but I'm glad to have this passive for the run. After all that, we fight the last Crystal Guardian, Gigaslich. There's a very simple solution. The X Potion plus Turbo Ether Compound half elixir. Practically a full elixir after Healing Lore, but you can't widen area it. Since Gigaslich is undead, this is also a reliable damage cap option against them. The normal chi strategy is just using the single target BP generating skill of Performers to make sure Gig never gets an action. Phoenix Downs don't work. I've tried. To finish our world-saving pilgrimage, Eri directs us to the Pillar of Light that's appeared on the world map. Upon entering, we are accosted by nuts from that toxic yaoi manga I somehow like. The fight's partially scripted and that characters talking will bring them back to 1 HP, so you can play like an idiot assuming he has less HP than he does and still make it out fine as my footage shows. Dark resistance and nullification equipment also helps, if not outright required. Cutscenes, flash of light, and chapter title. Chapter 5 seemingly sends us back to the past, hopefully not to play shitty games that suck ass like Dragon Quest V. Despite rewinding, a fair bit has changed. Every region has stronger enemies. For grinding purposes, Grab Keep it still has all undead enemies to use Staff of Life or Blessed Shield AoEs on. With Feel No Pain, you can reliably get the GDP of an American victim state with only as much effort as rotating the left stick and pressing A every now and then. Every asterisk has a refight in this chapter, most of whom are scaled up for a chapter 4. You get no experience or money, but its challenge and it fleshes out most asterisks a little. The only ones who are particularly hard, assuming you don't pre-charge specials, are Praline, the Victors, Kamer, and still Lester De Rosso. Praline and the Victors do good damage now. Kamer has the hard to resist stop ailment, and De Rosso is literally the same as chapter 4. Given the length of this video is already long, I won't be showing all of the chapter 5 or 6 refights for that matter, even with my usual tendency to speed up old battle footage in a game whose battle animation speed can be and has been set to 400%. It's mostly preference for me. You will have to awaken the crystals again. The bosses are scaled up in stats, but all the usual strategies apply and dungeons all have their shortcuts opened. Gigaslich is still spam half elixir. Shogmar is gambling for no bloodthirst to hit. Rusalkas bring charm immunity, and Cerberus still exists. Once you clear 2 crystals in this world, Agnes's Vestal Garb wears thin, so we have to visit Yuliana again. The price is exposition, with Yuliana hinting at the nature of our adventure, possibly ending the world instead of saving it. However, I courageously disobey him and awaken 2 more crystals as usual. On entering the Holy Pillar, we are accosted by the Punisher. It seems either Jim Shooter or Garth Ennis wrote this one by his homophobic remarks.
Where is that peculiar fairy?
The fight is Shadow Flare because easy 1 turn. On winning, we get a better look at Alternus. Surely there's a reason he looks exactly like Ringabel? Maybe Ringabel's a clone made for Brave's plan to kill God because he believes omniscience is incompatible with free will or something. And it's chapter 6 time. Ringabel's starting to remember who he is, tells us not to trust Eri, and it seems we're really going to parallel worlds. In this one, Tiz died in Norende. Otherwise, not much actually changed. The world encounters are basically all the same, and the only changes to the refights is most got a small stat bump. Mysteriously, the Blood Rose Sisters and Bravely aren't available to fight for now, so I'll cover what actually matters. At the start of chapter 6, a red glowing thing appears as we gain control. This is the key for the blue chests every dungeon has. Some of them have great gear for this run. Also, fuck you. This is actually the segment for the alternate ending chapter. You can start this in chapter 5, but I delayed it because of a misconception that the bonus dungeon and final dungeon blue chests have anything good, or that the bonus dungeon doesn't stay open. You know how you can still press X after the crystal is awakened and Eri tells you to stop? Well, have the courage to disobey Eri and keep mashing X. After enough button ramming,
among us.
Asylum Demon kicks our ass, but Agnes blows up the crystal, ruining Eri's plans. We make pursuit to the Dark Aurora spawned in the Great Chasm. You can get some great chest loot here, namely the ribbon and a brave suit. Ribbon is a hat and common Final Fantasy staple that nulls all ailments except stop. Only 1 per playthrough, sadly. As for the brave suit, it grants 1 extra BP at the start of battle when equipped. Given how much things can go bad after Feel No Pain wears off, having that extra action on turn 1 can make a difference. Before actually fighting Eri though, I open up the bonus dungeon. You can do this by having DeRosso beaten during the world this ending chapter is set in and talking to him. Once unlocked, it stays unlocked for the rest of the playthrough, as I would soon learn. The reason to loot the place is for more brave suits. The super boss is also here, but let's save that for later. Returning back to Eri, she's mildly scary here. If she doesn't hit you with stop in phase 1, it's an easy 1 turn. As for phase 2, it's basically a second battle, so enjoy that starting BEP and refreshed Feel No Pain. The only thing stopping your 2 health bars from dropping is charm, so bring rebuff lockets and remember to reapply Darkbane once that first health bar drops. For beating Eri, she hints at a greater threat as she dies. The party goes home after lamenting all the damage they dealt and its credits. We beat Bravely Def. No, we're not done. That was too easy an ending and we still got plenty of game left. Loading up the save, we're returned to before we beat Gigaslich. Any experience and items accrued during the alternate finale are kept. Any refights you did and chests you got during the alternate finale are not reset, so no farming for extra copies of endgame gear. The story in chapter 6 has progressed as you reawaken the crystals. As they awaken, Ringabel's memory returns and he questions Eri on if we should be awakening the crystals. By the third Chogmar, I realized dual Ogre Clubs Lambent Hat and Brave Suit are better for quick boss wins than Gaia gear. Basically, bonuses are multiplicative, so you'll be hitting the elemental damage bonus cap with just the Ogre Clubs and Lambent Hat, with Brave Suit making up for losing Staff and Blessed Shield utility for most fights. After 3 crystals, Ringabel once again realizes and urges Tiz to visit Yuliana to have the privacy to tell Agnes away from Ares' ears. Agnes is shocked. We already know the fairy is flying, but we must bravely continue the default path to beat up whoever is behind all of this. Before restoring the last crystal, we do the last new asterisk side quest. In summary, to test the party's resolve in continuing this strange journey, Yuliana has us do standard refights with Alternus and Brave, then having us fight the 3 Blood Rose sisters at once. This fight was where I hit level 99 and started resorting to cheese when I originally played. Thankfully, Salvemaker is cracked, so the only grinding for now is the Fulmin shards in my pestle. After the sisters, Yuliana turns out to be the bearer of the Conjure Asterisk and we fight him. He has about as much health as De Rosso and no real methods of disruption, so Shadow Flare works just fine. Normally he just buffs a stat and then hits hard. There is no Alternus fight at the Chapter 6 pillar, so Chapter 7 time. This chapter remixes the Asterisk refights by having you fight multiple at once. Many even have lower health to compensate for being in a party, and overall there's less fights. However, the increased amount of bosses at once can make getting past Feel No Pain wearing off difficult. There's also quite a couple of unique steals, most of which I can't see making or breaking future bosses. The Ominous refight is rather trivial. Just remember to stock up on Fulmin shards and equip Reflect Rings because he has enough health to survive the first 2 turns in the second phase. Yuliana's refight is a clean sweep. Mentally healthy Mephilia existing and Yuliana saying the gayest fucking shit about Barbarossa is probably the most noteworthy thing about this refight.
A fine specimen of a man, this one.
Victoria's refight. Interesting knowing Victoria is something of a straw feminist, and this could have been unfunny had Artemia not turned this into a bit of a wholesome moment. Well, time to ruin it because women and furries can't have nice things. Like Ominous, reflect rings help. Unlike Ominous, Artemia and Kikyo are far better at making sure you don't see turn 3. Up next in Eternia, we see Kent playing with presumably his daughter, Nynaria, reminiscing to Kent. Then it's a refight. Were it not for Holly having the questionably useful steal of a luminous robe with its passive 50% boost to light element damage and slightly better bulk than Gaia gear, this fight would be a clean sweep. Unfortunately, because of the steal, it's a matter of praying Nynaria and Ligma don't spread too much damage across your party before they fall. Praline's first rematch on the bridge is mostly the same as her original outside of Jackal appearing. You only need to defeat Praline though, so Shadow Flare. The second Praline rematch is a clean sweep. I do like how Praline has doubts about working for Kamer. Really, I like how this world gives sympathetic qualities to some of the Asterisk bearers in general. Not Kamer, of course, fuck that guy, but Praline wasn't really a complex character before then. Also, this post-combat gag got a sensible chuckle from me.
Say, Chief, what are digits?
Another word for fingers and toes. Why do you ask?
I met this girl who sang a song that went, I gave him my digits! Just watch him fidget!
That's awfully macabre.
Right?
Back in Eternia Central Command, I ended up doing the Bravely rematch. You have to do a more surgical approach due to Kami-Izumi joining partway through Brave Self and Alternus being able to survive the first 2 turns. For that, equip Darkness Shields to null most of Alternus' moves, and beat Brave as soon as possible with Shadow Flare. In the Central Command basement is the De Rosa refight. Paired with the other two realistically evil asterisk bearers of the game, this fight should be a clean sweep. Sadly, De Rosa has Hermes' shoes to steal. Make sure at least one party member has the Raikiri katana equipped so they're immune to lightning, reflect rings on the rest, and make sure to excise the Malignant's Profiteer the Kata quickly with Shadow Flare. Once De Rosa is isolated, it's a good idea to apply the lightning resist compound on turns where you try stealing so his Thundara spam can't wipe you. It should only take one turn to get the shoes at least. Finally, of the Chapter 7 asterisk refights is De Rosso and Victor. Victor's here to try and see if De Rosso's immortality can provide a solution to Victoria's mortality, and got dragged into this fight as a result. De Rosso has much less health than normal, so Shadow Flare's ass turn 1 and do whatever for Victor. You could and probably should Shadow Flare, but it won't matter because Victor, more like loser. Unfortunately, there is no main story from the Crystal refights this chapter, and the refights barely changed as is usual. I somehow lost once to all of them for stupid reasons, but otherwise I'm correct and always correct. Gigaslich survives more than one turn at least. Chapter 8. We're in the endgame, y'all. This is the last chapter of Asterisk refights, and there's some of the hardest content in the game due to a mix of just enough health to survive my current strategy, and enough damage to wipe me where I stand. Because of this, I'll grind to level 99. Shouldn't be too bad. I remember getting there well before maxing every job originally. The average player would just grind outside of Florum, but grab keep is less random. There's also another grind to do during and ideally after the level grind. You can steal Mega Elixirs. Guzzlers that spawn on the land near the Eternia Dragon Obelisk have Mega Elixirs as their second stealable. They're an uncommon spawn and inflict nearly every ailment with their attacks, including their guaranteed counterattack. They also spawn in Dimensional Hasp Floor 9, but at a lower spawn rate, and you can't save in there, so I don't recommend it. The footage here is an early method later optimized, but essentially in the one turn you really get, have a character decked in speed equipment and a ribbon use Inoculate Remedy on at least your thieves. Then have two characters spam the Thief Knife item use on different Guzzlers from each other. Then finally just have a character to end the encounter after you give stealing a shot with Pantheon's Wraths. You can get anywhere from 0 to 2 mega elixirs per encounter with this method, which is about as good as it's getting for a non-thief job. As for milling the encounters in between guzzlers, use Death Axe. Kill is a shit spell since it gives you nothing for a higher MP cost than just fighting normally, but when cast for free like when using Death Axe, it at least fills in for the lack of guaranteed fleeing most jobs deal with, plus it keeps your battle bonuses. All this yap and I haven't even explained what the mega elixirs are for. On the surface, they simply restore your party to full health and MP. However, with Salvemaker's Turn Toxic command, we can invert this effect, dealing the HP and MP damage cap to the enemy party. A couple of hours of grind later, and I feel I've prepared enough for these bosses. Now to decide on the order of the first few. First I go with Heinkel at Lentano Manor. This one's actually easy. The usual Pantheon Wrath strategies from Chapter 7 apply here. Yeah, you thought I was gonna use Turn Toxic Mega Elixir right now? I get it, but wait. I can only carry enough for 7 battles at a time, and I want to see how much I can get away with not using it for this segment. Up next is De Rosso and Juliana at Vampire Castle. I decided on a surgical approach here yet again. Giant's Draft gets used here so I can tank the duo long enough to recover after excising De Rosso with Shadow Flare. Juliana is hardly threatening with Giant's Draft up given he never braves. Probably got lucky too, though the AI could just be consistent with not using Battle Thirst this fight. In a losing attempt, I learned Gravica can just plain kill you while under the effects of Giant's Draft. Following and where the struggle truly begins, the Kamizumi refight at Starkfurt. I'm not gonna bullshit you, I used Turn Toxic Mega Elixir for this. I tried Golden Hourglass on a character with Intelligence gear to try and buy time with Stop Ailment. Oops can really only get one character inflicted if any at a time. I tried Pantheon's Wrath. Oops, Kata can start deleting me with Dark Breath. I tried removing targets individually. Oops, Kamizumi replaces who I just beat up. Praline will always get to use my hero to give her allies more BP on turn 1, and after that I'm basically fucked even if she's out. Barbarossa and Kikyo both will brave, and they both hit like the results of the 2024 presidential election. One mess into another, Florum.
3 sisters enjoy battle till airship come. Not dirty old captain.
Thanks, Artemia, how eloquently put. The Einherja refight is also rather rough, but a surgical approach works assuming you don't have Feel No Pain on. I recommend excising Einherja first given she starts with Crescent Moon, then Artemia. Mephilia should be threatening, but her AI mostly uses basic attacks. Reflect rings basically keep DeRosa from being too destructive for 5 turns as usual. It's a long fight, but I'd almost say I'm proud of the result given how trivial many of the surrounding fights are. Hell, I'm almost starting to regret using Rejuvenation in chapters 5 and 6 with how these fights are going. Finally, in Ansheim, we fight Kamer and friends. I forgot to put back on Feel No Pain, but ultimately this fight wasn't too bad. I took out Jackal and Kint first due to their physical offense, though Kamer instead of Jackal may have been a better idea since Jackal didn't open with Godspeed Strike. With all that done, I wrap up the refights with the Attorney and Command Boss Gauntlet. Comprising of 6 battles against every asterisk boss at their strongest, this is considered one of the hardest challenges in the game. Turn Toxic Mega Elixir will one-turn all of these bosses. The scariest might have been DeRosa's group in there, but they decided not to use the ailments they said they were going to. In my original playthrough, Juliana's group was a bit of a struggle because their AI counters the hasten rolled high jump cheese strategy I was relying on at the time. On the note of common cheese, it was that and just using Spirit Master Stillness that got me through my original run. Dark Knight raid setups were just way too much effort for me, and this was back when Pokemon was the only RPG I trusted ailments to work in, so no Arcanist funnies. For the frugal
among us.
You don't have to resort to Mega Elixir for the last fight in the Gauntlet. In a genius move on the designer's part, the last fight strategy of BP ramp is global between Kamer's Hasten Rolled and Victor's Moderation, letting me go further with the usual Pantheon Wrath strategy. Close victory though, I really should stress how sideways these late game battles can get. For winning, we just get bragging rights, the ability to do the gauntlet again, and it's time to return to the crystal refights. Who am I kidding? They didn't get enough health to make the same strategy I've been using the last 2 times obsolete, and there's no story additions. Once that's taken care of, do any money grinding you need to replenish your stock of dragon fangs and other compound items. Charge your staff specials, then head off to the Holy Pillar for... We did it! The world is safe! Oh, who am I kidding? You remember how Aerie betrays us if we break a crystal? Well, going through other worlds does the same. With promise of rewards from Ouroboros, Aerie tries to clean us up with a fight we did in the alternate ending. In retrospect, I didn't even need rejuvenation to quickly dissolve the fight. Got lucky in both phases too. Phase 1 landed soft, but it immediately cured. Meanwhile, Phase 2 tried to berserk my ribbon holder. After winning, Tiz has the typical talk to members spread out on boat moment I associate with Tales games. To summarize, Agnes and Adia both have regrets and realizations they were flawed, but must bravely continue this path regardless. To access the Dark Aurora in this world, we simply talk to Juliana and he gives us a message from past Agnes frequently brought up in DeRosa's story. Basically, Aerie's been tricking us into linking worlds so her boss can eat them. The dungeon itself hasn't changed, and at the end we fight a new form of Aerie. First time in a long time I used rejuvenation, and I should have brought dread blocking equipment, but otherwise nothing too crazy. What normally makes this fight hard is Eri sometimes using default to signal a combo of Acedia to remove buffs and force a fire weakness on your party, and Zetaflare to inflict AoE fire damage. Eri also has 3 health bars to deplete, erasing her debuffs every time, so expect to reapply Dark Weakness. On victory, Eri gets vored by Ouroboros, then we seemingly get swallowed by light. But not really, so make sure to exit the area, remember to equip everyone with some form of insta-kill immunity, then save and restock at the Adventurer. Final boss time. Mounting an assault on all worlds, Ouroboros is a lengthy 5-phase epic. Each phase resets your BP and buffs, so go all out but reapply buffs. The first phase is fairly trivial. Same health pool as Juliana and about as much disruption. Ignore my sloppy play, I was able to recover. Revealing their main form in Phase 2, this phase is also rather skippable. Recover from sloppy play in Phase 1, then do 50,000 or more total damage. Afterwards, DeRosa will appear infused with Ouroboros' core to try and stop his regeneration, transitioning to Phase 3. Phase 3 can be one-turned. I just want to say, interesting design, I guess. Normally you'd expect a snake or an Eva 01 knockoff with Ouroboros, not an old man. I'm too stupid to give any esoteric meanings and how that ties into the game, so I'll just give you my mundane read that Ouroboros' design is representative of how old men are devouring our world, as you can see Ouroboros doing to the world of Bravely Default. Perhaps this is the intended read alongside having the courage to disobey, though maybe that's too radical of a message for a megacorp product from a notoriously conformist country. Wait, am I reading too much into Bravely Default or Dragon Age again? Phase 4 is basically where the real fight starts. You must survive 3 uses of the world-devouring Armageddon while under threat from AoE BP reduction and insta-kills. Armageddon itself isn't random either, requiring you to do half of Ouroboros' health pool to activate. Giant's Draft is basically necessary for this phase. Three end at Worlds of Trauma getting on yes on the brink of giving up. The other worlds based on the friends you added to this game start joining in the fight against Ouroboros, bringing us into Phase 5. 270,000 HP to chew through, and Ouroboros can now use an Armageddon level attack without provocation in addition to his other options. Started running out of Dragon Fangs, but thankfully I still had elixirs to turn toxic, so I'm able to provide enough damage to finally put an end to Ouroboros. With the world saved, everyone goes home, credits play, and Tiz can die, no longer needing the spark my playing the game provides. I'm sure he'll be back, he's on the cover of Bravely Second after all. And with that, we can finally say Bravely Default is in fact beatable with Salvemaker only. I can't lie, I had my doubts. Did not expect Ouroboros to be beatable and hard if just for his health pool and BP reduction at least. Glad to revisit this game nevertheless. Amazing game. I even like the loops and Ring a Bell. I can't lie that Ouroboros was a little disappointing story-wise though. The meta shoutouts were cool, but he's still an asspool of a final boss with little relevance to previous themes. There is no forecast where I spitball future videos, or just lie to your face. This video already took forever, and most of that was an issue with me. The story is over, but this video isn't. Remember when I said Dimensional Hasp has a super boss? Well, Salvemaker only stands a chance. You may not like my use of Rejuvenation or Turn Toxic Mega Elixir, but it works. This may be the rare instance when MP damage does anything, though Adventure AI seems to be smart enough not to use Meteor instead of Mass Attack, so it may be me who is the fool here.
The things I do for you.
No stopping now!
Now the video is over.